Product Universe here. JD Vance just had a recent interview where he talked about the Trump Vance family policies. If you want to learn about the Trump Vance policies around children and family, watch this video.
Let me talk, you talk about family policy, so I have some specific questions for you on that. You've been talking about the concern about the low birth rate in the United States of America, which is well documented. You said people without children should pay higher tax rates than those who have children, and the U.S. should look at lowering income tax rates on women who have multiple children, and you pointed to Hungary as a model for that. How do you plan to implement that policy?
Well, it's called the child tax credit, and we should expand the child tax credit. If you think about what the child tax credit does... So you and the Biden
administration agree on the child care tax credit?
Well, we think it should be bigger. I think President Trump and I believe in an expanded child tax credit, but we also, importantly, want to actually get this thing done. The child tax credit has languished, thanks to the Biden administration, because Harris has failed to show fundamental leadership. Chuck Schumer's been unable to get it through the United States Senate, and we want to have a more pro-family policy. Now,
there was just a vote on this, you know that.
Well,
you weren't there.
But Margaret,
it was a messaging bill. I'll give you that.
It was a show vote.
I'm with you on that.
And if I had been there, it would have failed.
So tell me specifically what you want to do to expand the child care tax credit, because it's like $2,000 per kid right now.
Well, I think one of the things that you can do is make it bigger per child. I think we'd love to see it at a higher dollar value. And again, President Trump and I have proposed that. I mean, look, I'd love to see a child tax credit that's $5,000 per child, but you, of course, have to work with Congress to see how possible and viable that is. We've also proposed legislation, Margaret, to end this practice of parents getting these surprise medical bills where they go to the hospital, they have a baby, they chose an out-of-network provider, and they come home with unexpected bills. I've actually sponsored legislation to end that practice. So we have a whole host of pro-family policies that are out there. And again, on the Harris administration, I have to push back against something a little bit, Margaret, because when these comments where I said parents should pay lower taxes via the child tax credit came out, the Harris administration immediately jumped and said, we disagree with this. The Harris campaign said, we disagree with this. So did they want the elimination of the child tax credit, or were they just being careless in responding to remarks that I made 3 years ago? I don't know. They should clarify it, maybe in an interview with you, but of course Kamala Harris refuses to do interviews with anybody.
Well, we hope to have her on and ask her about that. So the child care tax rate, you said $5,000 per child is what you would like to get to. Where would that kick in? Because the current one, if income is $400,000 or below, it's $2,000 per child. So where would the $5,000 per child kick in?
I'd like to have a broad-based family policy and a broad-based child tax credit, Margaret. Again, we've talked about doing this for a long time. President Trump has been on the record for a long time supporting a bigger child tax credit. And I think you want it to apply to all American families. I don't think that you want this massive cutoff for lower income families, which you have right now. You don't want a different policy for higher income families. You just want to have a pro-family child tax credit.
So you have personally opposed universal child care. How do you solve the child care crisis in America?
Well, what I've opposed is one model of child care. We, of course, want to give everybody access to child care, but look, in my family, I grew up in a poor family where the child care was my grandparents. And a lot of these child care proposals do nothing for grandparents. If you look at some of these proposals, they do nothing for stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads. I want us to have a child care policy that's good for all families, not just a particular model of family, and that's what I've said.
So what do you mean by that? There would be like a credit per kid if it's a stay-at-home mom, credit per kid if it's grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
They get a check
to
take care of
That's exactly what I propose now. That's exactly what we've proposed both publicly and I've talked about doing privately. I'm just saying that I don't want us to favor one family model over another. If you've got grandparents who are at home taking care of the kids, I think they deserve to be treated the same way as other family models by their government.
Gay families. They'd be included. All families.
All families would be included, of course. All families would be included.
So I was looking at the platform, the Trump Vance platform that was rolled out at the RNC. You talk about school choice. You talk about 529 savings accounts. What about really young kids? Should 3- and 4-year-old kids have access to preschool?
Well, look, I think that certainly some families are going to choose that, but again, some families are going to choose grandparents and so forth. I think our view...
Well, that's child care. That's different than
our view. Well, very often preschool is child care, at least a form of child care. I know that when I went to preschool, my parents
used... Your kids went to preschool?
Yeah, and we used it as child care, right? You're hoping the kids get a good education, but you're also doing it because you want to provide childcare for your kids. I don't think there's anything incongruous or inconsistent about that. And I think, look, we believe that we want to make it easier for American families, Margaret, to make their own choices on this stuff. When we talk about school choice, of course, school choice would apply to all families. It would apply to all parents. And we just want parents to have choices.
Including for preschool, because in many public school systems, there is no preschool. That's why I'm asking.
I think that we want parents to have choices, Margaret. Like I just said, we want them to be able to make the choices that make the most sense for their family. For some, it's going to be preschool. For some, it's going to be daycare. For some, it's going to be having the kids stay at home a little bit longer. We just want the government to treat everybody equally, regardless of whatever education or family model you have.
JD Vance is very pro-family, as he has a very big, beautiful family of his own. He wants to make it easier for Americans to have more kids and to be successful while doing so. That is why he supports expanding the child tax credit more broadly to everyone, with a $5,000 per kid tax credit up from the now $2,000 per kid tax credit. This would be huge for Americans with big families and would create an incentive for Americans to have more kids. In a world where world population is at a crossroads, as many countries' populations are aging and not getting any younger as the birth rate has declined, regardless of political affiliation, anyone could support the expansion of the child tax credit because you would be supported by the government for having children. As well, for child care, JD Vance supports a broad system, not just a single system approach, as each family is different. Some families will have their grandparents watch their children, some will have them in preschool, and some will have them in other places, and that is great. JD supports the freedom of families to have the child care they want and what is best for them. These are policies which I think anyone can support because overall these policies foster freedom and are beneficial to the American people. These are important policies by JD Vance and Donald Trump, which should be shared because they are not shared often by the media. JD Vance and Donald Trump are extremely pro-family and pro-child. This deserves to be shared because it answers the important questions of what Trump Vance family and child policies are. But that's just my 2 cents, and you're entitled to your 2 cents. If you want, share your opinion in the comments below, as all viewpoints are welcome. If you enjoyed this informational and educational video, then give the video a like and turn on my channel notifications so that you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and God bless America.